Fire Radio.
Stop beating up your expensive sunglasses on or off the job. Frontline Optics is a sunglasses brand based out of San Diego, designed for first responders. If you're like me, you're constantly breaking and scratching your expensive designer sunglasses at work. Frontline Optics offers a no-questions-asked replacement program to cover your lost or damaged sunglasses. When the time comes to get yours replaced, all you need to do is cover a $12 service fee, and they'll ship a brand new pair to your door. No questions asked. Additionally, a portion of all sales is donated to the First Responders Children's Foundation. Frontline's shades are polarized, and they offer free shipping and returns, so you can try them out risk-free. Check them out at frontlineoptics.com or on Instagram at frontlineoptics. While you're there, use discount code THESIZEUP for 15% off. That's code THESIZEUP, one word, for 15% off. Frontline Optics, sunglasses designed with the front line in mind. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 65 of the Size Up by National Fire Radio, because what you do off the job matters, and it really does matter. I say that every intro now, that I have an official intro.
Nice.
This is a pretty cool episode, though, because I guess I kind of messed up. I thought today was going to be my 1 year anniversary of 52 episodes, so consistency since the reboot. I went back and looked and realized that my numbers were completely screwed up, and I actually already celebrated that an episode or two ago. So
congratulations.
Thank you. But that consistency has been a big thing for me. You know, getting this podcast out once a week, as I promised Jeremy I would make a very valiant attempt to do in the reboot a year ago, has been challenging and rewarding. So it's really cool. I guess this is kind of season 2. I don't know. We just roll through, man. There's no seasons on this show, right? We're just rolling into more episodes and such, but it's really exciting. So a huge thank you to Jeremy and to Seb and to all the folks at National Fire Radio for giving me this opportunity, especially a big shout out to all of you who listen to me on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, but we come out on Tuesday. So I like to think you all literally wake up and are like, it's Tuesday. I gotta listen to Pip. Like, I'm here. Who's he got on today? What's he going to talk about? And my guest today, I did a little deep dive on this gentleman. I think he has figured out how to manufacture maybe 2, if not 3 more hours in a day with the amount of things he does. So he's a digital creator, a photographer, a website runner, a designer, an apparel guy, a family man, a firefighter. And he has a name that I'm not really sure if he was born with it, but if he was, his parents did him a great service in my mind. So Chance Craven, what's happening today?
Good morning, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the introduction. Honored to be here. A big thank you to everyone that you mentioned, Jeremy, National Fire Radio, the whole team. I'm excited to be here. And my full name is Joshua Chancellor Craven. Chance is short for Chancellor.
Now I see where the wrestling name came from. I got you. I got you.
Now you know.
Do people know that, or is that like you just dropped the bomb on the social media world?
Most people don't know that. My wife and I have a running joke because obviously whenever you fly, they print your full name. Chancellor does not fit on a boarding pass, so whenever I fly, I'm actually Chancello because the R doesn't fit.
Bro,
you learn something new every day.
I would run with Chancello.
Oh, it's just Chancello all day long. Chancello.
Like on vacation, like I would totally introduce myself as Chancello to everyone on vacation.
Yes.
Like, nice to meet you, Chancello. How are you today? That's funny. I thought you were going to go in a bit of a different direction. My wife didn't actually know my real name when on our first date. She just knew me as Pip. Like, she never paid attention to my hospital ID that had usually it was turned backwards anyway, but she just knew me as Pip. And we went to see Bruce Springsteen with my cousins, and they have the same last name as me. So my family does not use Pip because we are all Pip. So then they said my real name and she got it.
Wait, who is that? Who are you talking about?
Who's that guy? Dude, people at my wedding were like, wait a minute, that's his real name? Like,
that's
his real name? Like, what's going on here?
See, I'm the opposite. Whenever someone says Joshua, like, I'm slow to respond because that's my legal name. So I'm like, who's asking? Like, who's requesting this information right now?
Are you a robocall or are you the police officer calling me? So,
Well, thank you for the opportunity, sir.
nah, no worries, man. You do a lot of different things, dude. Like, and I think it's awesome, your mission and everything that you're doing with your few different platforms that you have. And these platforms are so important. And I don't think, how long ago did you start kind of getting into the platform world, let's say?
I mean, social media itself has always been very intriguing to me. It goes back as far as like MySpace and AOL chat rooms, and
You
I have
remember
always
those
had this
AOL chat rooms? Like you went in, I went in
right
those.
ASL. What?
Yeah, 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 I
Um,
was there.
it was this unique thing that I've always had the perspective. So I'm 38, and so we've grown up in that world where we didn't have the platforms, we didn't have the social media. It was always, hey, it's the press, it's the news. Those are your main media outlets, and there's nothing else. And so very early on, I became intrigued with this platform type stuff where it's like, wait, there's this social media thing. We can connect with people all over the world. Whoa, hold on. Let me dive into this. And so I would say almost from the beginning of AOL Disk and dial-up internet, I have been utilizing social media in some way.
Do you tell your kids about dial-up internet? Like my kids are
So
like, "What is that? Like, what do you
they don't
mean?"
even know dial up. They like the other day, my son asked me, why do I say hang up the phone? And it was, Dad, you just push the red button. Like, why are you hanging up the phone? And I'm like, cause you just never mind. Like
I have
you'll never
never,
understand.
I've never thought about that. That like I tell
Yeah.
my kids, I'm like, "Hang up, dude. You're done. Hang up." And they
They
don't
don't
say
know.
anything back to me. They just know, I guess, know what to do. But yeah,
Yeah.
you don't really
It's
hang up the
push the
phone
red
anymore.
button. It's push
Son
the
of
red button. That's what my sons do. So,
I mean, dude, when you think about that, like, I mean, I had the phone with the cord. My
yep.
kitchen, my parents' kitchen had the orange box phone with this super long cord, so you could walk anywhere in the house with it. And then it was a weapon if the phone slipped out of your hand and shot back,
Absolutely.
totally shot back.
Absolutely.
But it's so interesting that you said that because I feel like in the social media world, most of us, and I feel me included, I was just like, this is cool. Let's see what this is. It took me a few years to really realize the platform and even kind of helping to start 555 and grow it on social media. I don't even think I realized our platform or our connection until it was years down the road.
Yep. And that's where I think now, I mean, you think social media and all these things really almost 20 years old now. It people grasp it, and younger kids are obviously doing it much faster than you and I, where YouTube channels are being created every day, and TikToks and stitches and streams and all these other things. And so it
Threads, there's
is
threads now. I'm still
threads.
trying to figure out
Like
what that is, but threads and
it's very unique for sure.
and it just keeps growing. And look, there was definitely a time, and I mean, I guess there's still a time now, depending on the platform that people are against today, but where it was like, this is horrible, this is going to ruin society. And when you look back, they said the same things about us playing Nintendo, and they said the same things
Absolutely.
about MTV when that got released, and they said the same things about
MTV.
1982, I believe MTV was dropped on us, right?
Well,
All
they used
these
to play
things.
music on it.
They did used to play music. There were videos on MTV, and they were really cool, like premieres and shows
Good
on
music
MTV.
videos.
What was that?
I said good music videos.
Do you know? Actually, I will say I don't know. And again, this is how this podcast goes. But do you use Spotify?
I do.
So occasionally on Spotify, it'll be playing in my car, and I'll hit a button on the phone or something, and a music video will come up,
Yep.
and I'm like, "This is pretty cool, man. They're still doing this."
Absolutely. And same thing with podcasts on Spotify now. Like I'm a big fan of Nick Bear and BPN and all of his stuff. You can listen to it audibly, or if you go full screen, it's full on video. And so
Yes,
it's
Sebi.
insane.
Did you hear what he just said, Sebi? That we can do video podcast on Spotify now,
Right.
Seb.
Sorry
he
for the
hates
additional work.
he hates you, by the way. Now, totally hates you. When he's listening to this, he's gonna be like, "I'm gonna be like Seb. Listen at 8. He has a special message for you." But it's so cool to
Nice.
see. Again, it's this evolution, right? But the thing is that with everything we do, we just have to do it with caution, right? Like with our kids and social media. Like, listen, my kids aren't on every social media platform. My
Yep.
13-year-old is doing things different on social media than my 11-year-old, right? I have to be the steward of that for them. That's my job as a parent.
Absolutely. I don't know who said it, but social media things are written in pen now, not pencil. And so we can't quickly take back what we put out there and what we write. It is no, it's there now. Well, I deleted it. No, someone already screenshotted it. Someone already saved it. It will be used against you, good, bad, or indifferent.
For sure. The first time someone told me about like screenshot, I was like, oh, I never thought of that.
Oh no.
And I was already on a path of goodness on social media when I learned about the ability
Yeah.
to screenshot, let's say, right? I was already like, hey man, you probably shouldn't have wrote that, or I probably shouldn't have wrote that. And then I really learned about it, let's say, the hard way once or twice.
Yeah. That's how we learn. I have a mentor that tells me whether you go to college or not, we all pay for our education. And that continues to be true more times than I'd like to admit.
Especially on social media. But I do think it's cool
Yes.
too, that they're teaching kids this, not just us teaching them, but I know my kids' school is very, very much involved in
Mm.
teaching these kids about that exact line. Like, this is pen, not pencil.
Yep. It's a unique tool, and many of us, we still don't know the impacts of it. And from building relationships and face to face, like you and I have never met face to face, but here we are. That's something that would have never happened 20 years ago. And so even this nuance of, hey, kids need relationships and they have to go to school to build friends. And it's like, a lot of my friends now don't even live in the same zip code, but we see each other daily.
Yep.
We hear each other's voices. We do a lot of things together. And then whenever we do connect face to face, it's like we haven't missed a beat, even if it's been 6 months or a year. It's crazy.
It totally is. And you are 100% right on that. My 13-year-old does not really like talking on the phone. Like, he just doesn't like it. Like, I remember being 13 and talking to my friends on the phone was my life after school. Even if I
Absolutely.
spent all day with them, I was on the phone with them, right?
Yep.
And he's still communicating with them. They're snapping, they're IMing, they're video chatting. And video chatting is a big thing, but like a
Yep.
regular phone call with him is so painful that I'm like, I'm just gonna FaceTime you because it's like a little less
Yes.
painful type thing.
That's what my kids, they are 6 and 10. And anytime that I'm traveling, we don't do phone calls. Like it's always
Yeah.
FaceTime, which is their normal. Like where my wife and I can physically talk to each other on a phone and not see each other's face, they do need like eye contact and to show me stuff. And it's, man, so unique.
But why not, right? It's so much. It's this great tool that we have that you can show them. Like especially probably for you, when you're at the firehouse, you're traveling. Your 6-year-old is enamored with everything that he or she can see. I don't know, boys or
Yep.
girls. I didn't look that
Two
deep.
boys.
Two
Two
boys, okay.
boys.
But that's
And
it. He can see all that, right? When you're traveling, you're like, look, I'm at this fire academy today, and look at all these guys
yep,
behind me.
absolutely. And so a quick asterisk, just so we don't mislead anybody.
Okay,
I am
go
not
ahead.
a firefighter.
You are
I
not.
I am not on any department or volunteering anywhere.
See, I
So
missed that part.
I
All
don't want
right.
there
So
to
you're doing
be.
a good job of not necessarily saying yes or no. You're not misleading, which is great. And
Yep.
I appreciate that, right? So then, cool. That was going to be my leadoff question was kind of how did you get from the
Yeah.
fire service to this? But then better question is how did you get into what it is you're doing with digital creation? And then I guess that led you to meeting some
Yep.
firefighters.
So I was very fortunate that at an early age, my grandmother was an art teacher. I went to a Christian church growing up that she taught at, and I doodled a Sunday bulletin one day at 15 years old. And the pastor was like, "Hey, that looks great. Can I pay you to design our bulletin? You're gonna pay me to do art. Okay,
Sure.
this is awesome." And that, like, long story short, has catapulted into me spending the last 20 years designing logos, building websites, taking photos, and realizing there's a lot of artists out there. But I've been very blessed to have business people around me. And if you can combine the acumen and the creativity of an artist with just some simple business things, punctuality, communication, there's a career there where you don't have to go work for someone 9 to 5. You can solve problems for people. Everything from, hey, I need t-shirts tomorrow. This is chaotic. Well, there's a website for that or an app for that. And so I've always done digital media marketing, brand strategy, um, all around the country. It's a huge blessing. Growing up, behind the same grandmother's house was a fire station. And I used to go to the backyard every time I'd hear the sirens wind up, climb up this tree, look over the fence, and see these engines rolling down the street, enamored by it. And then as I continued to get older,
You were
There
still
was a
enamored by
season. I'm still
it.
enamored. Still am. Let there be no confusion. Still am. I started to do disaster relief, traveled all over the world, Japan after the tsunami, Haiti after the earthquake. And I started to see these firefighters in a different light. Hey, it's not just the truck and the lights. There's humans here. There's people. So I started to build relationships with a couple of them. And then in South Carolina, we had a bad flood one year, and I was helping the local church. We raised a bunch of money. I told the church, hey, you're going to do a disservice here if you don't spend some of this money and serve the firefighters. And they're like, awesome. What should we do? And so we were able to buy 2 different apartments, brand new boats, motors, swift water gear, all this different stuff. And one of those fire chiefs, just in talking, man, you sound pretty passionate about this stuff. Have you ever thought about being a firefighter? Think about it all the time, but I'm not going to do it. Too far in life. I have a son now. My wife and I just moved back. And he said, okay, so I'm a father. I'm busy. I have all these things. Why don't you do it? And so I came home, briefly talked to my wife about it. And she's like, well, why don't you do it? And I'm like, wait, hold on. So you're telling me, like in South Carolina, that means I'm going to be gone for 8 weeks, Monday through Friday at a fire academy. And she's like, I'm tired of hearing you for the existence of our relationship telling me that you wish you would have pursued this. Just go do it. And so I was very fortunate that fire chief sponsored me to go to the academy, got out of the academy, went to a full-time department here in South Carolina at the city of Spartanburg, 5 stations, incredible guys. And after almost a year and a half, the door was shut, and it wasn't something that I was going to continue doing long term. But it gave me enough experience to build relationships with firefighters on even a greater level, live with people, and then also learn a couple things. One, how misrepresented the fire service is. And this
Thank you.
media tool that we have, it is grossly misrepresented how lazy firefighters are, how epic every call is, and how to some degree dysfunctional the fire service is. Like every firehouse doesn't have couples sleeping with each other and getting married and all
Oh,
the
you're
things that
so
we
okay.
see.
You're going after
I'm not
mass
I'm
media
not
here. I got
I'm
you. I
not
got you.
mentioning any
No, no, no. We
names.
don't need to do any
I'm just
three-letter names
suggesting.
or
Yeah.
shows. There is definitely a stigma that
And
the drama
yes.
ensues. Yes.
And so that was something where it started to be laid on my heart like, man, somebody should really honor these guys. And that desire kind of started previous to me becoming a firefighter. In 2016, 5 police officers were killed by a sniper in Dallas. And in that moment, it was kind of like, man, why do we wait until good people die before we honor who they were? And that was something that had been wrestling on my kind of heart and thoughts. And so this culmination of all these different things in 2018, whenever I was let go from my fire department, it was like, maybe I should pick up the camera, use my experience that was just enough to know like where not to stand and get sprayed with water or be a distraction or even an issue. And so I reached back out to that same fire chief that helped me become a firefighter. I said, hey, can I come document what you guys do? Like full ride along. I'll bring the cameras. I'll give you all the media for free. No tricks or gimmicks. And he's like, absolutely. And so that was like, okay, here's one, and then another department, and then a training. And what I started to find was, especially in trainings, man, departments are so unique because if I go do a ride along, the type of firefighter that I'm with varies drastically. And you may
100%.
get guys that are like, hey man, we're gonna sit here until we get a call. Cool, that doesn't really make for great photos. Trainings, on the other hand, especially some of these larger trainings, these guys are paying out of pocket. They're traveling from around the country and they're showing up to do work. And so it was like, well, hey, in this training space, I'm guaranteed pretty decent media
Yep.
and honoring guys that there's no perfect firefighter, there's no perfect department, but guys that are into the job legitimately. They're training, they're traveling, they're spending time doing the stuff, they're investing their personal time in perfecting the craft and being able to better serve the citizens of their communities. This is what I'm going to do. And so that's turned into almost, I don't even know how many years now of thousands of photos honoring firefighters by sharing what they do.
That's pretty epic, man. I'm going to take back what I said too about those extra hours in the day. Because if you're not a firefighter, then that doesn't count for you.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm good.
Totally kidding. But that is so epic because you said so many things in that long elevator pitch of what it is you do that are just like resonating in my head right now, where I'm like, you're 100% right on so many different avenues, right? And one of the big things that I found in kind of like my public journey in the fire service is we do need to share these things. We
Yep.
need to share who we are besides the big red truck, because everybody wants to see it, right? You were that little kid climbing up the tree, and now you're
Absolutely.
the adult that's like, oh, there they go. Where are they going? We
Yep.
don't always do the best job of telling our own story.
And really, and this is unfortunate, but the best stories to be told as well, very few of those people are taking the time to put the camera on themselves. They're
Sure.
so focused on training and getting better that they're not sharing it. And so, like, that's where I applaud you and Jeremy and the few creators in the fire service space that are becoming public. Because one, you are educating other people. Two, you're showing other people that, like, hey, this is okay. Like, it's okay to talk about ourselves. It's okay to encourage each other. It's okay to honor each other, pun intended. And so there is just as much as social media has changed things, the fire service is historically slow at adopting technology in new ways. I
No.
think this is something that will continue to become better and better. But in that, we also have to build the ability to determine BS from authenticity. And just because someone has a platform, just because someone can get online with their phone and post something, doesn't mean it's true, doesn't mean it's the best advice. And I joke all the time about my 6 and 10-year-old. Like, two things I'm teaching them that I was not taught. One, money is valuable, but relationships are more valuable. Like, don't burn bridges, don't throw people under the bus. Like, always build relationships. Number two, you have to be able to determine what's authentic and what's not.
Sure.
And we're growing up, even right now, at the cusp of it. Our kids and grandkids, man, artificial intelligence is going to do things that is bananas.
Yep.
And so their ability to look at something and be like, hey, that's fake, that's a lie, that's real, that's true, is going to significantly increase. But we have to do that in the fire service. I can Google right now the best hose load, and there's going to be 362,000 videos that pop up with different opinions. Same thing with vent enter search, vent enter isolate search. Like, there's so much information that we can now consume. Being able to determine, hey, that's somebody I would trust, that's somebody I would believe in, is going to become a skill set in itself. So that's where we have to be careful in the fire service.
Well, I so appreciate you saying that about myself and Jeremy. However, we suck at this, because do you know how many times Jeremy has been to my firehouse while I am on duty? Like, for whatever reason, he's passing by. We have to share equipment. We got to talk real quick. Do you want to know how many pictures we have of that time together in my firehouse?
Yeah.
Absolutely zero.
Yep.
Absolutely zero. We have never taken a picture in my firehouse, even though he's been there while I'm working. And I'm like, one day we're going to do this. But now I think it's become a joke that we're just not. Because
Yeah.
again, it's not in my mindset. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like, it's not like, oh, hey, let me take a picture real quick. And even some things now, I'm getting better at utilizing this technology to document things that are happening. The other night I had a little, I was on the car, and we had a call come in for a laptop battery and thermal runaway. It wasn't anything
Okay.
crazy, but it did expand, and we called hazmat. And I'm like, standing there, we're talking, we're waiting for the hazmat team to come, and I'm like, let's take a picture of this, because I could show
Mm.
other people this, because it actually did expand, to be like, look, this is what happens. But
Yep.
it's learning that technology. 30 years ago when I started, it wasn't even in existence. And 20 years ago, we definitely weren't doing it as much as we should be.
Absolutely. And that's where, like, if you look at just the history of storytelling in the fire service, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s, photographers, buffs, whatever you want to call them, were on scene documenting the job. And so we have all these epic photos and stories from the early 90s. And then someone invented one of these with a camera on it. And firefighters, always being trustworthy and mature, never doing anything we shouldn't do, started to post a couple of photos that shouldn't be shared.
Sure.
And then instead of trying to mitigate and navigate that, in the fire service specifically, there was like these sweeping SOPs and SOGs of like, hey, no photography.
Yep.
And so if you're 30 right now and you've spent the last 15 years in the fire service, 20 years, it's literally been, hey, you can't have a camera. No camera, no helmet cams. Very few departments have allowed that. And so you can walk through fire departments, fire halls, and you see all this history, and then it's like a hard stop. And now we're just starting to get to that point again where leaders are starting to get in place and saying, hey, we have to navigate this. So we're going to create some SOPs and some SOGs, and we're going to guide you guys on how to do it so that when you take a picture of the thermal runoff on a laptop, it can be utilized to teach other people, educate other people. But then you've also prevented the kid that thinks something dramatic is cool and goes home and shares it on his social media, and then fire departments are getting sued because they're sharing images they shouldn't. So it's in the
It's part of
fire service,
education, right?
media is
It's
still
the
very new.
evolution. Yeah, it's the evolution of this education you need to have. Like,
Yep.
great, we want to see you interacting with the community, right? But if you take a picture of you teaching some kids, we can't put that on our social media without those kids' parents' permission, right?
Yep.
Now, if we had the back of those kids' heads and we didn't see their faces, that's okay. And
Absolutely.
I'll wholeheartedly admit 15 years ago, I didn't know anything about that. I was just like, throw it up
Yep.
there. It'll be fine. Now you
Yeah,
know
we're
these
good.
things. Yeah, we're good. It'll totally be fine, right? Now, again, being a parent, I mean, I'm sure your kids are involved in everything. Social media policy of can I use your kid's picture is, I don't even know how many of those I've signed now at this
Yeah.
point in my parenting career. And we don't do that in the fire service because it's just not our thing. But we have to
Yep.
educate our employees that if you want to be a part of this, this is something that's really important.
And that's where more and more departments I'm seeing are getting specific on. The PIO role is historical. It's been there for a long time, but now getting intentional about not asking a PIO to learn something new and learn cameras, but actually creating rostered spots of social media content creators and
Sure.
video specialists and photographers. It's where there are a few different PIOs in the country that are doing a great job of storytelling and posting it. But I'm starting to see, like, Miami-Dade just posted a specific content creator position. And it's like, man, that I think will continue to be something we see. Irmo Fire has a daytime staff person that can take really good photos who has built trust with the department and the firefighters, and she will go out and document the job and these different things. And so you're starting to see these couple different departments, and there's more than a couple, but more and more departments that are getting really good at storytelling. And some of them are small, like Greenwood, South Carolina has a photographer named Ches, who he's a Georgia smoke diver. He's documented a lot of their stuff. And because he's gone other places and shown his worth, well, now at his home department, it's kind of like, hey, can you document this retirement or document this recruit doing things? And so more and more, I think the narrative is changing in how we treat media.
And that's it too. And you need this media and in society now. You know, we're talking career volunteer, you know, recruitment and retention is a huge thing. But just saying, hey, be a firefighter is not enough for our kids. You
Mm-mm.
know, they need to be able to look at that YouTube short and see the day in the life of the firefighter. They need to see, you know, what, and I got to interview the PIO from North Las Vegas, Jake, and
Nice.
talk about what the storytelling he's doing in
Yep.
his academy features. And I'm not even going to kid you, like, I'm not Mr. Let's watch fire videos. Like I throw them on
Yeah.
for education and let's see what's up. But I'm really not like, hey, every day, all day, like this is what it is. Dude, I was watching his series on YouTube like it was Survivor. I was like I'm like, what's gonna happen
And
next?
even North Las Vegas is Instagram. Like, man,
Yeah,
you land on one reel and then you're an hour in and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened?
but you're learning, right? It's like an educational thing. And I think about what one of the key things he said to me is it's for the community, you know, and it's allowing the community to see that these guys aren't just, you know, laying on the couch or this is why there's a bed in the firehouse. This is what they're doing. You know, this
And
is
in
all the
addition to community, like what I'm teaching, so my clients only have one that's fire service related. Everybody else is outside the fire service, but this transcends into all genres. Whenever we talk about this authenticity part, man, 20 years ago, a fire department could put up a poster in a local ice cream shop and tell you that, hey, this is the best job in the world and we're the best department. Well, now if you're 18, if you don't see a North Las Vegas social media style post, well, man, right now they're the best fire department because they're training, they're valuing their people, they're showing the work they do. And you may have a better department somewhere, but because they're not sharing it, when someone says, oh, well, such and such goes to jobs, really? I haven't seen it on their social media. I don't know about it.
they have 4
Meanwhile,
posts on their social
Yeah.
media and it's all the
Meanwhile,
same guy.
Cobb County, Georgia, it feels like they go make a grab weekly because they're constantly posting, helmet camera video of responding to calls, making saves, investing in a culture where, hey, we're going to record things, we're going to vet it, kind of document it in a way that it makes sense to whether you're a firefighter or somebody in the community, and then we're going to post it. And so here in South Carolina, especially, there's a conference called MAFC in Georgia, and we all joke about going to Job County versus Cobb County because it seems like all they do is run jobs. But that's the narrative that they're putting out. And so whenever we talk about authenticity, man, if you're trying to reach a younger generation right now and you're not controlling the narrative in a way where they can come to the conclusion themselves that you're an awesome department, you take care of your guys, you serve the community without them ever talking to you, you're behind the eight ball. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that poster's just not doing it anymore. Like that, it's
Mm-mm.
plain and simple. Like it's the easiest way to put it. And you said this before too, and it's definitely something I want to get into now because you kind of went into it. It's that authenticity, right? You're vetting and you're curating what you're putting out there. But
Yep.
also, listen, man, if you're putting out there that you got grabs every day, nobody's believing that
No,
unless it's a
I think
hundred
it,
and and it's not. It's just not, right? You
yeah.
have to put out there, you have to curate that in the most authentic and true way because they're going to find out.
And that's where whenever you look at the amount of people that are leaving the fire service right now, there's a common conversation of, man, I never realized it was this much medical. I never realized that the medical was as much of a nuance as it is. Well, they wouldn't leave if we were just honest about that from the beginning.
Yep.
And so it's like, hey guys, we're an all hazard department, including medical. Here's what a day and day really looks like. We're the safest city in America, so we run one fire a year. If you're okay with that, come. And now you're vetting and getting the people that need to be on your team. And the same applies for somebody that's extremely busy. Someone's experience may be, man, I heard a firefighter only works 120 days a year and it's not that bad. But then they get assigned to a department that's running 14 to 30 calls a shift and they're like, whoa, this isn't for me. And if all we
Exactly.
did was be honest about it, well, these two firefighters could switch. And now they're both happy because one's running calls and one's responding to Miss Smith's headache again. And everybody's good. But got to control the narrative.
For sure. And that's what it is all about right now, especially with this recruitment. Like you said, like listen, I work in a moderately busy department, let's call it. And that moderate may actually be on the lower end of busy, let's say. And I'm 100% okay with that. When I
Yep.
talk to folks that I know that run on the only rescue in a bigger city, and he's like, "Yeah, we did 24 last night." I'm like,
Yeah.
24? Like,
Yeah.
bro, when
Yeah.
did you see the firehouse? Like, how is your life? Like, and if you're not being honest about that to the people you're hiring
Yep.
from the jump, you are not going to A, hire the right people, or B, keep them.
100%.
And it's the same on that medical end. Like,
Yep.
listen, I was a medic. I worked on an ambulance for a long time before I got this job. And if you're not telling people, oh, hey, you're coming to the fire department, and you're not telling them that their first year or two is going to be on an ambulance,
Yeah.
I don't even know how you can go to
They're
bed at
gone.
night with yourself. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. We can't mislead people. And
it
authenticity will be that value that we continue to look for.
your perspective on this is so different than mine because I see it and I've seen it
Yep.
happen, but it's not something I necessarily focus on. Where this is like your focus and you're able, especially not being on a department, I think you're more able to point it out than I am.
And that's where it's like the mission of Honor Supply goes to honor firefighters by sharing what they do. And I've said to a couple different people now, like that's what kind of differentiates us from a few different buffs is they'll show up and they're capturing the call. They're capturing the smoke and the fire and the accident and the chaos. And it's beautiful work because we have a little bit of perspective and experience in the fire service. Now, when I come in, I'm looking for those two firefighters at shift change that are drinking coffee at the kitchen table. I'm looking for the new firefighter showing up the first day with food to give to the guys. Like there's so many of these magical moments that have not been historically documented that really are the fire service. And I've reached a point now where like multiple national brands are reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, we saw your content. We really want to hire you to do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, thank you." Because what you see, the emotions that that's evoking in you is 100% authentic. I can't create that in a studio. I can't create that on demand. And so if you hire me to come in and do this, you're going to be disappointed because the product will not be the same. There's a level of authenticity in the fire service and what we're capturing that is, it does resound with people and mean something because it really is that moment. Most people that we photograph, I often use a lens called a 70-200. They don't know I'm taking their picture. Even though they're looking right at the camera and it looks like a portrait, they don't know because we are 100% authentic. I
I
don't even
got
know
it.
how to say that word. Yeah,
Yeah, I got you. There's
yeah.
authenticity
That
in it. I'm gonna go with
$12
authenticity.
word.
Yep, it's a big one.
$12 word. It's just an authentic moment, and that's, I think, why it's resonating with a lot of people.
And it's so hard to convince those larger companies that this works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I get some of the same types of things you do where it's like, hey, we want you to, especially when I was more into the fitness world, we want you to
Yep.
rep this fitness product and you can make all this money doing this, or we're going to pay you each time. And I'm like, I don't like that product, man. I don't use
Yeah.
that product. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And like, here I am. I'm apologizing to them for being like, sorry.
I don't like it. It stinks.
I don't like it. It's garbage. Like it's not, when you hear, and I can speak very much to the fitness world, like firefighter fitness, and all I
Yep.
have to do is put firefighter in front of the word fitness and be a firefighter, and it's automatically firefighter fitness. I said that to a bunch of people, and they were like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, man. I just do fitness." Like, and there's some
Yeah.
job related things that I can do, and some tools I can use for sure that mimic things, but nah, it's just fitness.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's
I have
not
a
that.
friend here in the upstate. His name's Christopher Buell.
Is that North
Chris,
Carolina, the upstate?
South Carolina. South
No,
Carolina.
but what's the upstate mean? I don't know.
So
What.
the upstate is like the northeastern or northwestern part of South Carolina. Sorry.
Okay, I've
And
never
so
heard
like
that before, so
Greenville,
it's a new one by
and
me. So
it's the 10 counties at the top of South Carolina.
copy.
And so Chris lives here. He's a firefighter here. Before becoming a firefighter, he won what's referred to as fittest of the upstate. Beat every other CrossFitter in the upstate, 10 counties. He's a beast of a human. And then he becomes a firefighter. And he's like, dude, why am I getting my butt kicked? Like, holy smokes, this is a different level of fitness. And as many people know, like gear is the ultimate equalizer, where you could do 100 toes to bars without any break. But go pull ceiling in gear in a fire for 10 minutes and tell me how long your shoulders last. Like, it is a different level of fitness.
For sure. It's
But
so
again,
you
goes
can't
back to
even
that
explain it.
authenticity.
Yeah, you can't even explain that. Like, and even when people are like, "Dude, you're like the fittest guy ever," and you're dying right now, and I'm like, "All right, number one, I'm not the fittest guy ever. I'm just really into fitness." I was like, "But
Yeah.
number two, this is really effing hard, bro.
Yep.
Like this thing on my back, all this extra stuff, being fully encapsulated, going into a superheated environment, the thought that we might not come back out of it and still trying to do a job all weighs on you, and 10 minutes of pulling ceiling, and I'm like, I'm done, bro.
I'm
And
out.
yeah, for me being the shorter guy, the ceiling's even further away from me, so I have to pull even more down than most people do. If you want to
Yeah.
use a pulling ceiling analogy, right? And I can.
You got a 12-foot hook. I got a 6-foot hook. Like, you're ultimately behind the bar. Like, no bueno.
And I can do this all day. I can train doing that movement all day, and it's still not the same as going into a fire. Like, it's
So
still
you put a
never
hook
gonna
through
be
tongue and groove, and then you're like, oh, cool. This sucks. And that's where, again, my limited service or experience in the fire service, hands down, I think I was one of the luckiest firefighters ever, because I worked at a station where all 3 shifts got along. They were good firefighters, and they cared about the mission more than anything else. And so I was on B shift. A shift, there was a firefighter named Jared Van Eck. Jared
I happen to know
takes
him. I'm a
exactly
good friend of his. Let's say a good this friend of his. Internet
Yes.
friend.
And so Jared was a guy that from the rip, I'm seeing this guy every time I come on a shift, and he's speaking into my life like, hey, man, I know you're getting ready to work out. How much you lift doesn't matter. How fast you run doesn't matter. How long you can exert energy, come out, change tanks, and go back in is what's going to be important. And so you need to build your aerobic rate. You need to do these different things. And it's so fun now, this side of the fire service, to see someone like Jared who was sharing that wisdom then, and now with a couple other guys who are leading the county's physical fitness program for all new recruits.
Sure.
And so, again, I think that things are continuing to change, but it is these platforms, it's these different relationships where, hey, I just wish we had somebody that was authentic about firefighter fitness, true to what it means. hey, I know
Yes.
a guy. He actually works at Station 3, and we could. And Jared's as authentic as they come. Like at that
And look,
time, he was putting together grants to get equipment at all 5 stations and departments, and instead of just going to the chief and saying, "Well, y'all are dumb because we don't have equipment," it was, "Hey, chief, I think we need some of
and
this. So here's
he's
like a grant rollout. Here's how we can do it over 3 years." And now
he's
every
reaching
station
out to
has
people
racks. Yeah, it is.
nationwide. He reached out to me. That's how I met him. Like, hey, how do we get this fitness equipment? How do we get your
Yep.
grant? Who do you know? Can you get us this? And I wasn't the only person. He didn't just say like, oh, it's only Pip from New Jersey that knows about this. He
Yeah.
was grabbing SMEs from all over the place to try to do this. And it's so crazy to hear it all kind of come back to kind of
Yep.
full circle moment here for me and with
Yeah.
him. And I do owe him a call actually, but I have a t-shirt in my collection of firefighter t-shirts from him specifically for helping get a lot of stuff going there.
He is by far one of the greatest firefighters. Like whenever the analogy of, oh, that's someone I'd want showing up to save my family. Like
Yeah,
I'll put my hand on the Bible and tell you
yeah.
that he's on the squad that I would want showing up because I know that he's going to get the job done.
you're,
And
you're making me
that's the
feel
majority
bad.
of city.
He hasn't been on the show yet, and I just like I got to get him
Oh,
on the show.
what?
I know it's bad. See, but again, being authentic, right? And I
Yep.
know he and our conversation will be 100% authentic. But I always have that worry that I'll be like, oh, here's Pip with another dude he already knows. He's known him for years. He helped him with
Yeah.
fitness stuff. I'm not going to listen type thing.
All these
And
guys from the Northeast just bond together. It's funny
well,
because the
wait,
city of
he is
Spartanburg
definitely
actually
not from the
has.
Northeast. Wait. You are definitely not from the Northeast, buddy. Let's clear that
I'm
up
not.
now.
I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not.
Oh, well, he
Jared
came from
is.
the.
Van
I
Eck
gave up.
is.
Oh, and he's not from the
Yes. Yeah.
Northeast
Yeah.
anymore either. No, that boy is
So
Southern as he can be
he's
in my
he's
mind.
been down here long enough that.
But no, you get that feeling, right? And that's that
Yep.
authenticity that, again, we try to produce. And it's very hard. And it's very hard, like you said, with your kids to see through it. And I have no problem when my boys don't see through it being like, dumbass, like almost like the clap, like
Yeah.
dumbasses, look at me. Let me tell you something about what's happening right now. And they're like,
Yep.
oh, I didn't see that. Right? That's like an
Yeah.
important life lesson that you get coming up in New Jersey, no matter what. But I definitely got it in the '80s for sure. From my dad, Russ was no joke. Russ was on the job. He was that dude. Like he was the guy. And when I didn't learn those things, he made sure I knew them. And I'm trying to do the same for my boys, especially with social media. Like,
That's good.
and I read online when I was going through the honor supply page how you were kind of calling out the unauthentic. And I was like, damn, that's some ballsy shit right there, man. Easy way to put it.
Well, that's where it's like one of our core values as an organization is that negative Nancy's not invited. She's not on the bus.
I
And
love it.
so we are not going to go and like publicly blast people, but we are going to share the truth. And so even a most recent post of we are not the same, the idea that all firefighters are the same is such a lie. And if you were to line everybody up, I actually mentioned this to Jeremy the other day. You line everybody up like they're in a police lineup, and you say, pick the people that you want to come save you. If you're going to tell me just based on appearance, you don't have favorites, you're a liar. And then fire service is unique because you can't judge a firefighter by only their appearance. You may have someone that looks super fit, but they cannot advance a hose line. They can't rescue anyone. They know nothing about RIT, let alone all the other different skill sets that are required to be an all hazard fire department. And so things like that, I'm not talking bad about anybody,
Yep.
but I'm not shying away from the fact that we are different. And it is people that in South Carolina, we have something called the HART team, Helicopter Aquatic Rescue Team. It's a partnership with the National Guard. That's what I associate with that particular photo. Man, those guys yearly, annually, monthly, weekly, in addition to their firefighter jobs, are learning hoisting operations and how to get people off moving boats on the side of mountains. You might be the best at advancing hose in a hallway and up a stairway, but if I'm on a boat that's on fire, I don't want you coming to save me. Like I want the guys from the HART team. And so having enough confidence in the fire service that I can look at you and be like, Pip, you're in better shape than me, man. In this instance, you're the better firefighter. I know that. I'm not going to lie about it. But then I know firsthand from my experience, you've got hazmat guys that don't take fitness as serious, But man, they'll pull up on a scene and save your life because they know what chemicals in the air, what you need to have, what you shouldn't breathe. And so this nuance that we're all going to treat each other like we're equals and the same, that doesn't help anybody. So let's just be honest and authentic and say, hey, you're better at this than me. That's okay.
I would not be picked out of that lineup. If you put a lineup of people, if I shave the mustache, like, I mean, it's getting
Game
to the
over.
point where I could curl it, but like, if I didn't have the curled mustache and you put me in that lineup with my mohawk, tattoos, 5'2", 140-pound self, I would not be picked. Probably
Yep.
by a firefighter or by the public, for sure, without any of that knowledge, just the way it is. And that statement that we are not all the same, we're not. And I don't know why these folks want to act like we are. You
Yep.
know, like, I can't, you have to, if you're a firefighter, you have to be able to throw a ladder this way. Bro, that may not work for me, man, but I
Yeah.
could throw that ladder. Or I always use this analogy when I was teaching fitness stuff with it. Like, look, I'm a strong dude. That's one of the reasons that I got into fitness, was to be strong, right? Pound for pound, I got some strength behind me. However,
Yep.
I'm also smart enough to know that if you go down in a fire, I can't waste my time trying to get you because, bro, you're just too big. Like, with all your
Yeah.
gear on, you're just too big for me. But I'm also smart enough to know that I'm either going to get on a radio and call for more help, or I'm going to tie a rope to you and we're going to go outside and I'm going to be like, everybody pull because this guy's got to come with me, type thing, right? But
Yeah.
that's a big part of it, is that we're not all the same. Stop trying to make us the same.
And there are, like, there's got to be standards, obviously.
Sure. Mhm.
And I agree with the majority of those standards. But to your point, it's like, I'm very blessed to know a lot of female firefighters that they do not want to be treated differently based
Yep.
on the fact they're female. They want
I
the
don't know
same
anyone.
standards.
I've never met that female firefighter. That's
Exactly.
like, treat me
And
differently.
neither have I.
Yeah,
And
right.
so I'm
Like,
not saying that they exist, but I'm saying, like, that is so there's standards, male,
yep.
female, ethnicity, weight class, where it's like, hey, you have to achieve these things. And that qualifies you as a firefighter. And that is good. But then I think the female that loves diving and is on the dive team, like, let's recognize her as the diver and firefighter. Let's recognize this person as the hazmat tech and firefighter. And where I think the fire service has to get better is, we look at each other as equals, and it's very easy to resort back to this equal thing because, for the most part, pay is equal across the board.
Sure.
And I'll compare the fire service to professional athletes all the time, and that you don't win the Super Bowl by a team where everybody makes $1 million a piece. Does not happen. You're going to have your superstar that's making 40 million. You're going to have your kicker that only plays for 30 minutes a game, but absolutely kicks every field goal and he makes 12 million. And the guy that's on the O-line every snap is only making 2 million. That's okay. And I think that's where in the fire service, we've, again, historically do what we've always done. Man, come in and be a firefighter. I know you have 10 years at this busy department, but we can only pay you $45,000 because that's our starting pay. Hey, what if we started looking at it more like a professional business and a sports team, where you could stack your team, you could build these things. I could bring in the very best pump operator, the very best nozzleman, the very best Rick guy. And now, are we paying more? I don't know, because there's probably some people that would do the job at 32 and only expect 32, which gives us the freedom to pay another guy 60. And hey, now we have a stacked team of absolute all-stars. But that's
Bro,
a whole other
they can't even
conversation.
figure out how to pay us all the same, and you want them to
Right?
figure out how to pay us different amounts.
And that's the
bean counters. You would topple that thing right over. But listen, but what you're saying is true, right? There should be this standard, and I feel like a lot of places have it. And then you have this level of excelling, right? I am not a boat guy. I like to go out on boats and have a beer and hang out.
Yeah.
We have boats in my department. We have not very big boats, but we have boats. I have to train to a level to know how to operate on that boat and around that boat if I really need to be on that boat. I will be the first person to tell you in my career, I should not be the person operating that boat, especially in an emergency situation.
Yep.
Sorry, not me, dude. I make a right when I'm supposed to make a left. There's a tiller and you got to go the opposite way. And I don't do it very often, right? But we have people on my shift who are boat dudes. They are water dudes. I don't care what apparatus they're riding on that day. If I'm on the car acting, that guy is running that boat because I know
Absolutely.
I'll get him there, man. If I got to drive him myself, let's go, man. You're going because I know you know your stuff, right?
Yep.
And that's that level of like the same. Look, man, everybody should be good at this job, but do we all have to be Georgia smoke divers? I don't really know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I just don't know.
And that's where I think, though, that we talk about, hey, let's bring some intensity down to where
Mm-hmm.
not everyone needs to single man throw a 36-foot ladder. Like, it's not possible. So let's stop making fun of people that
I
can't
saw
do
somebody
that.
do it on the internet, man. He did it on the internet.
Yeah.
I saw him do it.
I mean,
It.
it's possible. I know a couple guys that can do it. And so I think there's this level of maturity where we have to not bring expectations down, but just have a calm, collective conversation about not everyone needs to do this. But then on the other side of that spectrum is, hey, let's not make fun of the Georgia smoke diver.
Yep.
Let's not make fun of the guy that wants to go dive all the time. And again, going back to negative Nancy's not allowed on the bus, like I shut that stuff down whenever I'm in conversations of people being like, oh, well, Ches is a smoke diver. Or hey, man, you're not. That's okay. Like Ches isn't out here throwing shade at you.
Yep.
So step out of your insecurities. And if you're really passionate about hazmat, I do not understand you. I do not want to be you.
I called
But
them
I'm
the
not
other
going to
night.
make.
I was so excited when they came. I'm like, yes, you guys are here.
Yes.
Like, whatever, man. We'll do what you do. And then I'm like, we're going to hang out. Like, I had a driver. I was on the
Yep.
car. And he's like, we are. And I'm like, I just want to see what they do, bro. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with this. Let's see. Like, and it
And
was
so
cool.
even in that, like, and this goes to psychology and outside the fire service, but in that moment, obviously I wasn't there, so a lot of this is hypothetical, but you took some guys that are often misunderstood in the fire service because of their love of textbook and science and reading, and you made them feel cool. You stayed there, you watched what they were doing, they got to come. And man, I think that's something that we don't do a lot of times is just take the time to understand someone else's love and passion.
Oh
And
my God. This job is
and
so much communication. Had you
it
told me
is.
when I was that young firefighter at 25, getting on the shift and, doing all the things I had to do that, like, 20 years later, I'd be like, nah, 90% of my job is communication and 10% is putting on all this cool shit and action.
Yeah.
Is the exciting part, and sometimes we cut people out of cars and put fires out, but the rest is, and especially as you rise in the ranks, that leadership, your communication only has to increase as your pay goes up, as your bars go up, as your title goes up. You need to be the ultimate communicator all the time.
Yep. And as you know, as a leader, communication isn't always verbal. It's not just our words. And so, again, going back to this call where you called hazmat, hey, no, we're going to stay here. Well, without you realizing it, you're not telling the younger guy, hey, no, what they do is important. There's something to learn here. All you said is, no, we're going to stay and watch what they do. Like, I think that'd be cool. You taught him and you communicated that, hey, we're a team. Everyone on the team is valuable. And I think that's a conversation that most people don't want to have, but accepting people for their passions and skill sets and just not throwing shade, I think is something we all have to come to agreement of. Now, asterisk, if someone's not performing and they're not able to do the job, that's a hard conversation we have to have. Like, if you're out of shape, if you can't throw a 24-foot ladder, if you
that's standard.
can't
If you're not meeting
throw,
the standard, right? And the standard is different wherever you're working.
Yep.
Whatever whether you're on an engine or you're on a truck or you're on a rescue, you're on hazmat. But we have to have those conversations too. I'm going to throw an asterisk into my driver has more time on the job than me when I ride on the car. So technically,
Nice.
I was just pissing him off by being like, "Yo, I want to see what they do." He's like, "Oh,
I love it. Yes, we're gonna stay."
But I was like 5 minutes, man. We've been out here long enough.
Yeah.
Let's see what they do with this. Now he was into with watching, but like that's it. That standard is really where it's at, and I think that's just an important thing for all of us to do. Going back to authenticity.
Yep.
Right. You need a standard of authenticity, and if you stick with that on all levels, man, woman, race, color, creed, size, anything, just go with the standard, man. I'm not asking you for much. I'm just asking you for this.
And I think that's where whenever we accept below the standard, that's when the communication from leadership gets really skewed. And that's whenever people start to feel burnt out. Why am I doing this? I'm getting paid the same as someone that's passionate, educated, knowledgeable, as the person that's still here 36 months into their career and is being allowed 7 attempts at a CPAT. Like, like, no. And
Can't really do that anymore.
yeah.
Like,
And so that's
sorry.
where, again, not talking bad about anybody,
Yep.
but whenever I say we're all different, as much as we need to recognize other people for their strengths, we need to be honest about weaknesses. And I'm a person that will tell you flat out, like, I was not the best firefighter. I struggle with being led by someone else. I'm not a good follower. And so my greatest contribution to the fire service is not as a firefighter. It's in these moments right here, talking, communicating. It's funny you mentioned, hey, because you're not on a department, you can share some of these things. I wouldn't be able to say some of the things I say, not because they're bad, but because they would ruffle feathers.
For sure.
And so it is that, hey, I'm not going to follow the chain of command. And
You have
so
your
for
own
that
chain
reason,
of command, bro. It's a win.
I have my own chain of
You're
command.
your own chief, man. You're the foreman, as we say in my department.
And
You're your own
so
foreman.
it is these things where we need to recognize each other for what we are and who we are, but it doesn't mean that everything's acceptable. And we joke about me not having anybody to report to. I'm the foreman. I was terminated from my department for breaking the chain of command.
Ugh.
And so that was something that it was a short-sighted decision. Looking back at it now, I wish I would have done things a little differently. But I shared a safety concern about an engine that was way too big for our station in First Due. And as a result, that engine, city council blocked it from coming because they did studies and found out it was too big for our First Due. In that, man, it would have been awesome to be able to ride on the engine and be assigned to one of the shortest engines Pierce has made whenever it was actually pushed in. But because of my lack of ability and certain areas, I didn't get to do that. And I'm sad about that. And so there are these levels of, hey, know your strengths,
Yeah.
but some of those strengths are going to prevent you from doing different things. And at the same time, your weaknesses are absolutely going to prevent you from doing certain things. It's okay to be you. It's okay to be you. Your spot just may not be on a rig.
And that could be the case for anyone, right? And that's,
Yes.
you could be here talking about this years later, being like, and those guys and these people, and they did this to me and they did that to me. But instead, you're being like, well, I did this. It probably
Yep.
wasn't the right way to go about it. And this is what happened. And I have to move on, which for your boys, for anybody with kids, boys, girls, anything, that lesson for them is lifelong learning right there, buddy. And to sit
And
here
a
and
lot
tell
of
me
that
it,
comes with time. Like,
yeah, oh, for
the
sure.
moment I was terminated, being a digital media person,
I could imagine there was some
I
different things that went on.
thankfully I have a wife who is much smarter and wiser than me. And where I wanted to go by like dearcity.com and put the chief on blast and do like a national campaign, she's like, nah, no, that's not why we were called to do this.
The sounding boards are good. The wives are very
Yes.
good for that. Your spouse,
Yes.
and the vice
Absolutely.
versa, I'm sure. And something too, before you got into this, and we're getting into that hour, and I don't want to keep you much longer, but you said just kind of in passing, and it caught my ear because, I've been fortunate with being involved with 555, now being involved with National Fire Radio, to have been able to travel, to have been put on a stage in different ways. But some of the best pictures I have of myself that someone else took were taken when I didn't know they were taking a picture of me. And it's
Yep.
that true, authentic self where people are like, Pip, you're always smiling in pictures. And sure, I smile when you take my picture, and I smile a lot in life. And some of those pictures I'm smiling, some I'm not. And
Yep.
you doing that and looking at all your photos, like as I was going through just to see between that and just like the 2 words you put under the comment, that's it, man. That's the authenticity that we've been talking about this whole episode.
I appreciate that, sir. That's a compliment that I don't take for granted and something that I hope I continue to have the opportunity to do.
No, for sure, man. You're going to keep getting out there. I mean, I know I want to do some stuff with you now that we have all these connections and just kind of getting behind it. And I'm hoping folks that listen to this are now like, wow, there's way more. Man, this guy's got all kinds of stuff going on that I didn't know about just from looking at it. And it's cool to talk to someone behind the camera because I feel like no one ever does that.
Yeah, this is awkward for me. I prefer being on the other side of the camera, but
most great photographers do that, like 100%. They want to be on. I do not want to be on that side of the camera at all.
Yeah.
I 100%, like I tell people, like they just pay me for this. This is what I'm all about here. Sorry, I have no other
So
marketable
you have a
skills.
face
Just
for
this.
video. I have a face for radio. So I prefer to be on the other
I
side
don't
of
like
it.
to think I have a face for radio or for video for anything. I don't have a voice for radio. I'm just this dude with a mohawk
It's
that
the
likes to do
mustache.
fitness. The
It's the
mustache comes and goes
mustache.
though, so it may go soon. Actually, Jeremy and I spoke this morning. He's like, "How's the mustache going?" And I'm like, "I don't know if I'm gonna keep it or not. We'll see."
Yeah. My wife doesn't like me kissing her with a mustache, so it's out. It's ruled out because I like kissing my wife. So that's the compromise there.
Nor does mine. But recently, she's kind of not said anything. This go around, she's been really. And this
Mm,
episode's coming out in a few weeks, so I could say this now. This episode,
yeah.
but I think she thinks it could be the lead up to FDIC. So I
Okay.
go be like a real fireman with a mohawk and a
And just
mustache, and then I
come back,
shave it.
shave it all off.
Go back to being the fake fireman, keep the mohawk, shave the mustache. So
Nice.
that could be
Well,
it too.
I will be there in I guess 18 days now. So I'm looking
Sweet.
forward to shaking your hand. And
Nice,
don't
man.
shave your mustache before then. Otherwise, I'll be looking all around for
No,
the
dude, I stand out,
mustache.
man. The mohawk and the tattoos, you can
I
easily
love it.
find me. And if you just look down a little bit too, because generally I'm looking up when I'm talking to everyone else. So I'm
Nice.
kind of hard to miss at FDIC, that's for sure.
Hey,
If you're
briefly
looking
tell
at
me before we get off, like street parking, your hoodie. What is this?
what is this thing called street parking? I suggest you Google it. But this is a workout program that I do.
Okay.
That was started by two former CrossFitters, a husband and wife, Miranda and Julian. I've been involved with them for, oh, good lord, 4 or 5 years now. But it's all
Nice.
home app based programming that
Okay.
gives you workouts that you do daily in your garage. So hence the name. You can't park in your garage
Parking in the
anymore. You
street.
have to park in the street. Each
Okay.
day they give you, at a minimum, there's 4 workouts: barbells, dumbbells, sandbag, and no equipment, plus a host of other things, and this online community that is like no other in the fitness world of
Okay.
40, 50,000 people. So it's excellent.
Really?
Yep. Oh, dude, they
Nice.
are, and it is very low cost as well.
Okay.
And the programming is legit. If you can't find something you want to work out with in your house with street parking, you probably shouldn't be working out
You're
because
just
they
not
have it
doing it.
all, dude.
Okay.
No, the
Okay.
no equipment workouts too for firefighters is clutch because you don't always have equipment, or you may
Yep.
only have a set of dumbbells or a sandbag. So when
Okay.
we finish this, I'll be out in my garage getting it in, man. So a little shout out
Before
to
the
my
kids
friends
get
at
home
street
from school.
parking.
Yeah, I've seen
Today,
a firefighter in Florida named Eric Wheaton often tags them and mentions them. And you're the
yep.
first time I've seen the logo. The hoodie obviously stands out. That's great branding. And so I needed to know more
So
about it.
this hoodie you get when you do 75 street parking workouts for free.
Okay. So that
So
hoodie
you get a
means
free.
something.
It actually means something. The key is consistency is key because that's it. As long as you're
Okay.
consistent with the program, you're going to be healthier than you were if you're not consistent.
Nice.
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So at 75, you get this. I am knocking on the door of doing my 1,000th logged street parking
Dang.
workout.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, thank you. You get a banner. You don't get a hoodie for that. You get a banner.
Nice.
And 365, you get a T-shirt, I think.
Okay.
So, and there's cool
That is awesome.
It's amazing. This is actually, I think, the first time anyone has pointed out street park. Maybe the first time I wore this hoodie on the show, but it's a
Yeah.
huge part of my life. My
That's
kids work
awesome.
out with me. My wife does it. Loads of friends. We even have a subreddit. Let's call it a sub Facebook group of firefighter and EMS
Okay.
people that do it. So it's a great community, and I know Eric is involved in it. So
Man, that is awesome. Thank you for taking the time to explain that.
nah, no worries, man. Thanks for pointing it out, and I'm sure they will love. I know Chris, who did all this stuff, is
Okay.
if he happens to listen to this, he'll be like, "Yes, someone called it
Yeah,
out."
I definitely, coming from 20 years of branding and stuff like that, even the key, consistency being the key, like the symbolism there. I'm not that street parking isn't good, but because of the branding and the symbolism, now I'm gonna go look it up as soon as we get off this.
I love so, and again, we're going over an hour, but like, I didn't see myself in any of these roles that I've kind of
Yep.
gotten myself into, right? Like branding and digitalized marketing. And it was funny with 555, we made this logo and it had all these crazy things in it. And this was the best thing we've ever done. And we named the group and blah, blah, blah. And as it grew, I was like, let's take this off. Let's take this off. And then I got to the
Yes.
point where I was like, I want to be like Starbucks, where if you just see 3 5s, you know that
You
it
know.
means he's firefighter, not for profit.
Yep.
We never got that far, but in the firefighting community, I feel like a lot of people know that much at least. So at least we got that
Yeah.
much going for us.
That's awesome.
Cool, man. So where can the folks find you before we hit the size up 10? Because they may just click off because they don't want to listen to you anymore.
Honor Supply Co. HonorSupplyCo.com, honor.supply if you want to get really fancy, no.com. And then on social media, just searching for Honor Supply Co. And that is where we achieve our mission of honoring firefighters by sharing what they do. We post their photos, we show training, we show calls, predominantly focused on the individual and the firefighter themselves. But all things social media, that is where you can find us.
And you sell some pretty epic gear, as we did not plan twinning with our camo hats today.
We did not.
He appeared and I'm like, we're twinning. This is
And that is
cool.
where anybody that goes to the site, before you buy anything, I would just challenge you that the logo on my head, the H stands for honor. The bottom line represents the foundation of the fire service. Everybody that came before us, it's recognizing that we stand on their shoulders. The middle line is where we are today as a culture and a society. And the top line is the future of the fire service. And so before you buy anything, thinking that, hey, this looks cool, I want to represent it, we challenge everybody to wear it with honor. And so if you're going to wear this flag, I talk about shutting down negativity. Don't be the guy that wears our brand and goes blasting other people thinking that you're better than someone else, because that's not what this is about. Buy the gear and wear it if you truly believe in honoring the fire service.
My heart, you just hurt my heart there with that in-depth description. Like, I love it. Yeah, like I stand when I do these because I can't sit because I move too much. And like, I'm like, oh, my knees just buckled a little bit. And I've heard so many people on stages say that and then go and be like, that dude's an asshole. Like, wait, what? You just said, like,
yeah, don't do that.
Just don't be that guy. Don't wear our gear. I don't want your money. Keep your money. Let's go, buddy.
Honor first.
Nice. I love it. All right, man. You ready for the size up 10 here? 10 quick questions that never go quick.
I think so. Right. Let's try this.
Buckle in. I'll let you get some water. You got to get ready. Hydrate first.
Let's do this.
I highly recommend hydrating during a street parking workout too, if you jump in on them. All right, here we go. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Night out or night in?
Night in.
A good book or a good movie?
Good movie.
All right, here's where it gets hard. Cross-country road trip. Who is your celebrity co-pilot?
Celebrity co-pilot. I'd probably go Ashton Kutcher.
Nice.
I think he's a guy that he's accomplished a lot, done many things, and lived a lot of life. So I think he would have just a good comedy, serious conversations all the way around. I think it'd be fun to travel the country with him.
Would you do the dude sweet tattoo line with him?
Obviously, yeah. We'd have some fun.
You have to, right? Do you make your bed every day?
I do not.
Give me a book everybody needs to read.
The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It is actually
okay.
Right here.
All right, it's in focus now. All right, I will have to check that one out. Never heard of it.
Legitimately, it's just talking about, hey, we hustle culture and the value of slowing down, taking time to be in a moment, be present, love the people around you. Phenomenal book.
Clearly, that person who wrote that was not from New Jersey, because there is
not at all.
That slow down culture is just not here. I live in the slow down culture of New Jersey, and it's still faster than everywhere
Still not
else.
There. Yeah.
I will check that one out for sure. Which one are you taking, highways or back roads?
Back roads.
Good man. Bucket list place that you want to visit?
I would love for me and my family to go to Australia. I think that's a bucket list. Outback, clear waters, diving. Like, let's go.
My family and I are going there for Christmas this year.
Congratulations, sir. That is awesome.
When we are in FDIC, I will introduce you to some Australian firefighters that will be there. Okay. My good friends will be out there that I'm going to see when we go there. But yeah. So
what part are you going to?
So we're landing in Sydney. Okay. And then it's kind of up to them where we're heading next. We haven't quite figured it out. But we'll be there for Christmas and New Year's. So we get to celebrate New Year's before everybody else. We are going to the Outback because my buddy Jared's parents live in the Outback, like kangaroos on the front lawn, like deer here when he comes to Jersey.
That is awesome.
So it's in the works now. The airfare actually just dropped a little bit today. So I'm watching it, like waiting for a number, and then I'm booking it, and then we're totally locked in.
I love it.
So I'll keep you in the loop. Where are we at? Number 9, hardest question on the list. Football or football?
Football.
Oh, I didn't see that one coming. I like
Yep.
it. I like it.
So,
Now, playing, watching, who do you support? Like, come on, because not many people go this route.
I'm not a huge sports guy.
Okay.
And so, but I think that it's a disservice to call American football. And the original football and soccer, as we commonly refer to it, is something my kids love. I've started learning more about it. We have a local team here that's fun to go watch. And then there may or may not have been a Netflix Apple show that made people fall in love with soccer. And it's
he's right there. Right?
Oh, I know Ted's hanging out back there.
Ted's
I've
hanging
seen
out
him
over there, and
some
Roy Kent's
Instagram
hanging out right
posts.
there. Like, yeah, for sure.
And,
I got you.
So yeah, and I love American football. I know a lot of good football players and have been blessed by them in different aspects of life, but soccer is where it's at.
It's a beautiful game, man. Appreciate it. All right, last one. The best piece of advice you could give to your younger self.
You do not know everything.
Love it. I love it. And that is a great way to end this podcast, because when I was younger, I thought I knew it all, and I had no problems telling folks that I thought I knew it all either.
Yep.
And as I've grown, I feel like I know less, and I tell people less about anything. So as much as my reach has widened, my knowledge has decreased in a way.
Yes.
Which I
Absolutely.
love. I have no problems with that at all. So listen, man, thank you so much for joining me today, Chance. This has been a great time spent, and I'm looking forward to meet you in a couple weeks here, 18 days or wherever we're at for that trip to start. For everyone that's tunes in, thank you so much, man. This has been a great year of just recording, and I'm looking forward to another one. So for the Size Up by National Fire Radio, I'm Pip, and remember, what you do off the job matters.
Thank you, sir.
National Fire Radio.